Oh, hello everyone. Have you grown any tentacles lately? Okay, DreamWorks released a trailer for the upcoming new film, Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken, aka My Life as a Teenage Kraken. It's about a teenager, Ruby Gillman, who's also an outcast trying to be a normal high schooler. But everything changed when the popular student found out that Ruby is not like the other girls. You see, Ruby here is a Kraken. Like, who isn't? Especially with the new Splatoon special Kraken Royale. Everybody wants to be a Kraken. The Aristokrakens. Cephalopods nowadays are finally getting good representation, and that's great. We have Splatoon 1, 2, and now 3. People are loving the new Octoling idols and the playable Octolings. We got two new octopus Pokemon. We have Liv Luminance, Summer Coating, Puella Subnautica. Octavia from Smash Legends is the kind sea witch, and she also got a fancy new second anniversary dress. Squidward is everyone's favorite character now. There's a Twitter gimmick account about how beautiful Squidward is. You should check her account. She drew this Birth of a Squidward artwork for my I Dated a Frog video. Good time to be a cephalopod. Is 2023 the year of cephalopods? I hope this movie premieres on the 8th of October, which is International Octopus Day, because that'll be funny to me. Anyway, this movie is really interesting to me because it starts out as a typical high school drama of an unpopular girl versus popular girl, but then it becomes a typical giant monster drama of unpopular monster girl versus popular monster girl. Somehow it turned into a giant monster battle movie. Is a historical moment. Simply outstanding. Another outstanding thing about the movie is that the protagonist is a Kraken, which almost always have been seen as the villain in media, or at the very least an obstacle for the heroes to defeat. The first thing you hear in the trailer is about how people thought wrong about Krakens and falsely painted Krakens as bloodthirsty monsters, sinker of ships. In the same trailer, mermaids are seen as the most power-hungry and dangerous creatures of all. Apparently even more terrifying than humans, might I add. The grandmother Kraken describes mermaids as selfish, vain, narcissist, the worst of them all. So basically, the average Twitter user. In summary, it's a good, bad gal versus the bad, good gal, if you catch my drift. It's a story where it contains what people thought was the monster, then turns out the monster was actually the hero, and vice versa. This isn't new by any means. A classic example is Disney's Beauty and the Beast. The Beast was the hero, kinda. Meanwhile, Chelsea, the mermaid, is almost a carbon copy of Gaston. If Ruby is the Beast, then Chelsea is Gaston. Again, selfish, vain, narcissist, the worst of them all. Gaston is the villain in the story for a few reasons. He was the one that dehumanized Belle and treated Belle like a trophy. He's selfish and would do anything to get what he wants, regardless if people get hurt or not. He started a mob to go after the Beast. At least the villagers weren't bad before being influenced by Gaston's fear-mongering. Like, yeah, the villagers thought she was weird, but one, who isn't, and two, they're not as bad as Gaston, right? Hashtag not all villagers. The bookkeeper was nice. Even the baker was nice to Belle, despite Belle being kind of snide towards the baker's mundane life. Even the pumpkin carrier before the talk with the baker was decent. At the end of the day, like Hunchback of Notre Dame, who is the monster and who is the man? Quasimodo and the Beast are seen as monsters, but are actually the men or heroes in the movies. Meanwhile, Gaston and Judge Frollo were the monsters, despite looking relatively more human than the monsters. You've probably met or know people like Gaston or Judge Frollo in real life, which is kind of scary how accurate these depictions are, showcasing that what makes people monsters are their actions, not their looks. Another example of this going against norms and expectations is Zootopia. Bunnies are supposed to be fragile and easily scared, but Judy is brave and assertive. Mayor Bellwether is a lamb, so she's supposed to be meek or sheepish, but she's actually conniving, a two-faced jackal. Turns out she was the real villain all along. Oh, spoilers, I guess. On the other paw, Nick is a fox, so he's foxy, sly, crafty, but he's also traumatized, also misunderstood, and he later on turns into a good guy late in the movie. Yeah. But that's just Disney, right? This is DreamWorks we're talking about. DreamWorks have been getting a lot of attention in social media thanks to their movies. I've noticed the more memorable ones are the movies where the lead character was supposed to be the villain but end up becoming the good ones, or even the heroes. We got Shrek, which is the most popular one. Ogres are supposed to be disposable bad guys, like orcs, not supposed to have a happily ever after. Speaking of which, the fairy godmother was a villain, so ogres can be good and fairy godmothers can be bad. We have Megamind, which became very popular later on. The blue guy was supposed to be the villain, but ended up becoming the hero. The so-called good guy was far from good and ended up becoming a very horrifying and even realistic incel. The other hero got tired of being a hero, so he retired by faking his own death. We have the bad guys, all these animals that are commonly labeled as bad and scary villains, in the end became the good guys. Even the movie Puss in Boots: The Last Wish had something like that. Lobo, aka the hot Brazilian wolf of death, I didn't name him that, you did. Lobo turns out to be kinda good, or at the very least neutral. He just wants Puss to live well and appreciate life, and not treat death ever so lightly. So Lobo is not really bad. The real bad guy here is Big Jack Horner. Both are antagonists, but only Big Jack Horner is the real villain and a likable one too. He's also really funny. He's surprisingly a well-written bad guy that actually helps the plot. So not only does DreamWorks likes to write stories about villains to heroes and vice versa, but they also like to switch roles of common tropes. For example, monsters are good and humans are bad, rather the other way around. But I have to ask, why does DreamWorks turns monsters, villains, or characters who are typically seen as the bad guys, why do they turn them into heroes and maybe vice versa? Like, why even switch the roles in the first place? The settings have changed, but the structure is, at the end of the day, good triumphs evil. Why couldn't it be a movie about mermaids defeating the krakens? Well, maybe there are multiple reasons why they switch krakens and mermaids roles, or the roles of heroes and villains, and here are the possible reasons why. Chapter 1: Giving other types of people or characters a chance to tell a story. It's about time we give krakens a time under the spotlight. Since we know how a kraken would be written as a villain or a monster, then what about a kraken written as the lead character or even a hero? This creates something new and fresh for the audience. What's fresh is a kraken being the protagonist this time, the lead character, the hero. You know how there's like an episode dedicated to a certain character, not the main character? May it be a supporting character or even the background character. And in that episode, the real main character of the show might not even be in that episode. So in that episode, it's all about them, the supporting character getting the spotlight and how they would handle the situations they're in. We also get to see how they would act or think without the main character's input or influence. The episode is just dedicated to them. It's like their time to shine, their spotlight, their moment, their historical moment. From there, we finally get to see what they're capable of. That's when we get to see something new. In this movie, the new thing is we get to see the Kraken's point of view, or even the Kraken's abilities, a view that a lot won't know about, or a perspective people won't even consider if we keep seeing the hero's point of view, or the normal side's point of view, instead of the other side's point of view. It's like if we always see Batman's point of view, or every episode is dedicated to and only to Batman, we will never see episodes about Joker specifically, or Catwoman, or Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. We will never know more about the other characters if all we're seeing is Batman or what to be expected. People want to know what the other characters do. If not, then that's why fan art and fan fiction exist. I guess maybe one of the reasons. All this to satisfy our own selfish desires and curiosities. Chapter 2: Sympathizing the less fortunate or the less represented. For a very long time, these types of characters, like krakens, wolves, aliens, ogres, they were used as archetypes for villainous tropes. It has come to a point where these archetypes have become evil by default. These archetypes have also created connections with words like unlikable, unwanted, undesirable, unfitting, abnormal, weird, outcasted, and alone. From there, it indirectly created this scenario where you can kind of relate to these characters. Was there a time when you relate to these villains or monsters in these stories? When a movie starts a character as a villain or a monster, there is a goal to be good, a strong goal at that, making the goal that more desirable. If the character is already good and the end goal is to become a good or a better person, well, let's say the story doesn't hit as hard as the former. Sometimes in life, being good enough is okay. You don't have to be the best. Life is much more than that, but you do have to be a good person. Adding on, turning over a new leaf helps the character not only be a good person, but a person that is accepted by society and feeling belongs. And don't we all want to feel belongs? Since these villains and monsters are outcasts by society, people can find relatability with these characters, and since people can relate to these characters, they have a strong desire to see these characters grow and change for the better. People want redemption arcs. People want to see these characters be loved and accepted. They want the good ending. People want to see themselves as these characters getting the good ending. Maybe one day it will be their turn. It gives them hope. The outcast deserves a good story. Chapter 2 plus 1: Create story material. I'm surprised that the movie turned into a giant monster battle movie. I guess it makes sense, since krakens are described as giant sea monsters. See, you wouldn't get this movie if the roles were reversed. Like, if the mermaid was the lead character, would the mermaid even turn into a kaiju or giant monster? Probably not, since the story would have a stronger narrative if the hero was facing a gargantuan monster, telling the audience that some obstacles, even though big and scary, they must be settled at some point in time. Tackling an issue that seems impossible to handle create a stronger dynamic and a more contrasting scene. Therefore, the element of change is more drastic. The bad guys started out as villains, stealing money from the bank, or organize a crime to steal the treasure. Then at the end of the movie, they became the good guys. The change is a lot more contrasting. Compare that to, let's say, Hercules. A good guy who makes a lot of mistakes and he wants to become better, and then he turned into a god. Yeah, maybe that's not a good example. Okay, how about this? Aladdin started out as a trickster who at the end didn't trick people as much or stop tricking people. I mean, he did trick Jafar into becoming a genie so that Jafar will get trapped. I guess that's needed. But okay, how about this one? The movie Beauty and the Beast. Beast had a much stronger arc compared to Belle. Beast started out as a mean girl, turned into a violent beast, then gradually became nicer, then transforming back into a kinder, more loving human being at the end of the movie. Belle, on the other tentacle, didn't change as much as the beast. Was there really anything that Belle needed to change that drastically? I mean, yeah, she wears different clothes, dresses, or something. I don't know, but you get my point, right? Number finale part. Giving the audience what they need, may it be to be seen, to be understood, to create new stories, and to start out fresh. Sometimes both the creator and the audience need something new. Except for me, I'm happy watching the first four seasons of SpongeBob over and over again. Yeah, I've said it, the fourth season was also elite in my objective opinion. Anyway, there are a lot of points to be made here, like sometimes the worst people are hidden in plain sight. Gaston, Judge Frollo, Incel Guy, and Chelsea look the most human but are the antagonists of the movie. Sometimes it's good or required to see other people's point of view or see things in a different perspective. Prejudice can make it difficult for people to accept new or different things. People can even use your own prejudices and fears against you and create a narrative that benefits themselves. People can be deceiving, both in looks and in actions. It takes time and effort to change for the better, but it's worth it. It is better to change for yourself than for other people while also staying true to yourself so that the right people will accept you for who you are. It is better to be loved and accepted the right way than the easy way and many, many more. Much more. Many, much more, much, many more. Yeah, a lot more. Looking at the previous DreamWorks movies, I, for better or for worse, have high hopes for this movie. At the very least, I hope I enjoy this movie and I hope you enjoy both the movie and this video. Let me know what you think about the video. If you've seen the movie, what are your opinions on the movie? I'm on my way to watch the movie right now. I have other social media platforms and accounts. I have Instagram if you're interested in art only. I have a Twitter account as well, mainly for artwork, jokes, and memes, but it's also for updates on my next video and a place for you to get angry at me because that's what Twitter is used normally. But it's mainly for art and other types of communication. So thank you again for watching and I hope to see you in my next video, which is coming soon actually. Okay, bye. Oh, hello everyone. Have you grown any tentacles lately? Okay, DreamWorks released